My name's Richard. I'm Richard Matovu. An education technologist from the University of Hertfordshire. And I've been doing this role maybe about now 4 years. And before this role, I was an ICT or computing secondary school teacher. I did this over 14 years. And in addition to being as an ICT or computing teacher, I've got really a passion in multimedia, especially in terms of using multimedia for teaching and learning. And that's what inspired me in what I'm going to be sharing with you today. Because for my passion, I really got into using these technologies in my own classroom, and I did a master's in e-learning, focusing on using video tutorials for teaching and learning. And that's what actually sparked off to get the role I'm currently in. So anything I'm sharing today is either from what I've done in my own classroom or with my own projects, or what I've seen other colleagues do, of what I've read on the internet, or my extra ideas that keep coming to my brain whenever I see these kind of technologies. So anything I'm sharing today is just to say if other colleagues out there could really join the train in using these technologies to support teaching and learning. So as you know, I'm actually mainly focusing on podcasts, and my area here is just to show people why I think podcasts actually are things that are not really being used a lot in our education environment. I'm not really sure why, but I personally think these tools really have got a lot of potential, and hopefully what I'm sharing today could answer some of the questions that I have, or maybe some of you have, in terms of using podcasts to support teaching and learning. So what I've got is some few things really I need to share today are going to be very brief. But despite being brief, literally, if you want to get in touch, I can actually share more. But what I wanted to assure you is anything that is being shared today has been done in an education environment with really basic, almost very limited funding. So anything really I share shouldn't really scare people off. Do I have funding for that? So that's literally something I really sometimes have to mention when I start showing this. So people keep asking, what's a podcast? That's literally my definition. A podcast is a recorded series of digital media in form of audio or video that is distributed over the internet. It can also be downloaded on a device for playback. Now, audio podcasts are often more common than video. But saying this, I've realized things change. That definition has actually almost changed, because when you look on the internet, there are lots of different definitions, and it depends which person is actually defining this. Sometimes in an education environment, people just mean getting a microphone and recording. When you go out in the broadcasting world, the mainstreaming of maybe Castbox, the mainstreaming of SoundCloud. So that definition, because you don't have enough time, but when you start exploring this, it's changing. And I think it depends on who is defining this. But in our situation, that's our definition. And I'm focusing on audio podcasts. And I will tell you why actually I'm focusing on audio podcasts. Now, I start with the story here. This story I'll leave you to read on screen. And this story starts from where I am at the moment. We began a podcast, which is called the HSK Student Pod. And that's really in short for HSK Student Podcast at the University of Hertfordshire. This actually came like a surprise. I went on a training course just to learn how to do advanced audio editing in a program called the Audition. When I go there, the people actually who went there were actually talking about this thing called podcasts. I've actually listened to podcasts, but I've never been in that position that I'm keen to create them. I edit things for staff and hand over, but myself as Richard, I'd never really created one. Because really I was so passionate in video, which I often do, and I'm here to learn how to use this program that is so advanced in editing audio. When I hear what these people are going to actually use this program for, that really triggered my extra ideas, and actually fun enough changed why I went to the course. I started hearing what they're saying. Somebody's going to NHS to produce podcasts for patients. And this is really what sparked off. the HSK Student Podcast. Literally, this is a podcast that we've got in our school. It's really keeping students up to date on what's going in the school. Sometimes it gives them tips and advice on how to get ahead with their studies. And we also have got students who come and share their professional, sometimes personal experiences, including staff members. We also have guest speakers who come in and really share amazing experiences. And what we do to make sure that students get inspired in doing this, we also give them certificates. Often, being a visual learner, I sometimes say it's better you show somebody what you're talking about. So this is my moment to pause, and literally I can show you what I'm actually talking about here. What is this thing called HSK Student Pod? And maybe even at the end, I'll ask you when I finish to scan that QR code, and you can actually listen more once I finish. So I'm actually going to open something here. Hopefully it works. Fingers crossed, because sometimes these technologies are not very good in terms of doing what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to show you some of these examples that I have got. Hopefully it will give you an idea what our HSK Student Pod is about. Yeah, so like I said, at the moment, we really have got up to episode 30. I couldn't even decide what can I show you, because there's so much that literally has changed over the time. And I'll show you some of the analytics. A colleague of mine has just downloaded them in a minute ago to show you. But at the moment, this episode, which began in 2018, now we are in episode 30. I randomly picked some examples. And I think one of those examples is something that has just played, which I think I may even skip, because this first one is third year students often really get to a moment that makes first year think, how did these students do it? So the message you really had was from third year students. They really go on to share lots of amazing experiences. Because you've heard what they've said, I'm not really going to play that clip. Let me actually play another clip, but that's literally the same clip. I only play the part of the clip that the first student really, who has proved to be so passionate and very inspiring to many. So I thought I'd actually start that clip with you. So I'll go to this one and see what this person says. For this month's student success stories, we have our guests, Michelle and Georgia, from the BSc Social Work program. Michelle and Georgia are going to share a message with us related to their placement experiences, and also they are going to share some placement coping tips and strategies. And I'll hand you over to Jerry, who had the opportunity of meeting and interviewing Michelle and Georgia.
Yes, thank you, Richard, and thank you for having me again in the HSK Student Pod. And I'm joined by Michelle and Georgia, two of our student guests today. And so, welcome, Michelle and Georgia. How are you?
Hi, Jerry.
Hi, Michelle.
It's great to be on the SK Student Pod today. Feel really good. Feel really excited, actually.
Excellent. And hello, Georgia. How are you today?
Hello, I'm well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you both. And so why don't we just get you introduced properly? So I know that you are both social work students. And so, Michelle, tell us who you are, what brought you into social work.
So those students, I think because of time, those students go on and share amazing experiences. I'll just now play another one just to show you what kind of things have we produced. But once you leave, you've got access to this, you can listen more. But one of the things that really we've done a lot, students coming in and sharing their amazing experiences. Because when, especially in HSK, that is health and social work courses, students get really scared of what the next journey is going to be. So hearing this kind of thing from previous students does really inspire. Because when a first year is getting told you have a placement, they don't realize actually other people have actually been in the same position. So that's another reason we've been asking students to come and share those experiences. And this one actually is a good one. Dear HSK Pod listeners, continuing from episode 50, we also know behind the suffering and ongoing challenges, we have also got some success stories. despite the challenges we are facing. So this clip was really during COVID. Really, students were put off. Some actually were dropping out. There was a loss of, because these students were going on the front line. So this is an amazing podcast where a student, literally a mom, she even got a first class, shares and empowers other students. Say, please, if I can do it, why can't you do it? But I may not have opportunity to really play this. Hopefully, I can. Student success story.
Social work. I was wanting to tell me a bit about yourselves. Tell me a bit about, you know, kind of what you've been doing, what you've been up to, and yeah, how you've been.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm quite happy to be here this morning at the HSK Student Pod. Well, my name is Nicole Davis, as Chantal have already said. I'm a recent graduate, MSc in health social work. And yes, and I
think because of time, but all I needed to show you that all these things that I'm actually sharing here, students' work and staff, the actual staff members are often the people sharing, interviewing the students. But what I wanted to show you, what kind of things have we done on our HSK Student Pod? So those are some of the messages. And another big area of this is we ask staff members to come also and share some more of the experiences. And one of those is things that students don't realize that most staff members have been in their same position. So because of time, we have got here one of the episodes where a staff member who is now on a PhD shows the students how she came from a secondary school. When you look back where she is, you can't even believe this is a lady who studied in a secondary school. And another thing where we've actually used this is very important messages. For example, I don't know, in some of your institutions, we've got this dual sign-in, and people were sent out messages, but students really ignored this until they're getting to a logging in stage and they really get locked out. So we actually get the team that is involved, we interview them, and they produce a message here. Dear HSK Student Pod listeners, especially our student listeners, you have all recently received messages informing you to enroll yourself on a multi-factor authentication system. So if I can maybe just go that part.
Becky, could you tell our listeners a bit more about yourself, please?
So my role is the information manager for the School of Health and Social Work. And
so the information manager goes on, she tells the students about herself. But if I can just go to a moment.
Librarian.
So Becky, you're here today to talk specifically about the multi-factor authentication system. Lots of our students have had emails asking them to join this multi-factor authentication system and might be wondering what it is. Please, can you just let us know a bit about why it's being introduced to our students in HSK?
Absolutely. So
this message that was emailed, we then now found another way that students really can actually use this. So that's another opportunity. There's so many, because of time. That's why I said I can't even know what to show you or what not to show you, but you can see not just messages to do with placements, but we'll also use this opportunity of sharing with students very important messages. And also another very important one, we've got a senior manager, especially like the dean of school. Very few students know even the dean of school, so she gets an opportunity to come and speak to us. And especially we have a very important part, end of the year, that's towards Christmas. She comes and really shares a message to the student, wishes them happy New Year. Hopefully I can play quickly here. Dear HSK Student
Pod, and it's been great to hear the earlier contributions from colleagues talking about all of the support that is available to our students, both within the school and in the wider university. And please do reach out.
So the dean of school goes on and speaks to students. But that's another way that even student who has never met the dean of school can actually, wow, that's the dean of school. So that's another way we've been using it. Because of time, I'm not have the opportunity to share everything, but that's what our HSK Student Pod is. And hopefully at the end, I'll give you a chance to scan that. Now, that's really a diagram to show you how things have been in terms of the plays. So my colleague has just really downloaded this, and I can see we've literally got something that has been played over. We've got about 20,000 play time. So that's something I never really watched, but a colleague of mine said maybe they may be interested in knowing what's going on. But you can see from almost 2 people listened to the first podcast. So really, this is been a journey that we've literally been playing different ideas, but at the moment we are now on episode 30, and we reduced how many times we produce this. So in brief, I've been talking about the podcast that we produce at the school, but it can also be used in your own teaching and learning. For example, in introducing a very important concept, sometimes it becomes very challenging to students just to keep reading. So I'm actually going to show you some ideas where students have been given podcasts just to learn, or just to give them that introduction to very complex concepts that they would normally find challenging, and also supporting assignments. I've seen lecturers giving feedback. It takes time, but you listen to the feedback, it's really very rich feedback. And also that aspect of bonding with the students. So these are other ideas I'm showing you briefly here, showing you examples how other staff members have used the same medium, but this time in a classroom environment. This is really a topic that I, as Richard, or many other students, even staff members who are doing PhD, sometimes find difficult. So I chose something really to show you how a podcast could be used to introduce or to inspire students into this complex topic you are trying to teach them.
Hi there, and welcome to the second in our series of podcasts. Now, in this series, we're going to have a look at a document which is really quite tricky to write, and that is called the Critical Literature Review. Now, most students will undertake this piece of work as part of a research project. And you might say to me,
that is an example. I'll just go to the next one because there's so many. So this literature review, this lecture chooses many sections that really she thinks students will really need to get into this. So those are many podcasts that the lecturer has produced for this topic.
Now, the first stage, before you can actually start to write anything at all, is to do your literature search. That means going out and finding the information that you're going to review.
So she goes on different topics, and then also the other really important topic is a research proposal, which is another area that some students find really difficult.
Hi there, and welcome to this podcast. If you're listening to this, it probably means that you're about to undertake some research. That's it,
really. Well, I'm not going to go more of this, but it really does show you how many things that people are doing in terms of podcasts. They are really doing it on building a staff, student community, but also taking this into their own lessons, or their own modules, or their own teaching. So it's not just placements, it could literally be changing the way you deliver your learning. So that's really in a very short snapshot of how other people are using it to support their teaching and learning. And what I've personally found why they are unique podcasts is they can be listened to as people are doing other things. That's actually what I tend to tell students when I'm saying it. Please, you are going home, or are you driving? Are you on a bus? As you go, please, can you listen to this? So that's another way to show them that you don't need to stop what you're doing to really listen to podcasts. But now the key things here to remember, because of time, is you really need to try to make sure that the topic you are choosing is relevant, because not every topic is suitable for podcasts. That's really very, very important to remember. And also to plan, because you need to know what's the purpose, why I'm actually creating this podcast. Because sometimes you may do it and they don't even listen to it. One important thing we've learned, make them small, make them small, make them small. That's very important. Oh, I might listen to that long thing. They tend to tell you that. So when they are very short, they really are very inspiring to literally even telling them to listen to them. And also, you really need to remember, even if they are small, let them have a beginning, a middle, and an end, so that it still shows there is a purpose to this message that you are giving the students. One thing that people can never really believe can put people off is the environment. If you are living near an environment, there's so much noise during the evening, don't record. Go and find a quiet environment. When people are listening in the back and there's so much noise, they get put off.